Hi, my name's Chad Harrington from Hymn Publications, and this is my top 5 children's Bible recommendations for kids ages 2 to 6. I'm going to put them in order from number 5 to number 1 with what I like about it, some disadvantages, and some background behind each book. By the end of this video, you're going to be able to decide what book that you want to use as your children's Bible for your kids or your grandkids, with some benefits, some downsides, and some good reasons to either buy it or not buy it. Number 5, the Comic Book Bible, written and illustrated by Rob Suggs. I like this one because it's fun, it's unique, it's punchy, it's short, and you've got a broader reading age. It's, ages really 4 to 12. They say it's ideal for ages 8 to 12, but I've read it with my 4-year-old daughter and it works well. What I don't like about it is that it's not really focused on accuracy or fullness. The Bible translation at the top is not really, I actually don't know where they got that Bible translation. I think it might be an open source or like a KJV kind of thing. But anyway, it's got 199 4.6 star reviews, published by Baker Books back in the mid 90s, 264 pages, 62 Bible stories, so it's decent. But not my go-to. Number 4, the Jesus Storybook Bible, written by Sally Lloyd Jones. Now, you might be wondering, why did I pick that one number 4? A lot of people would put it number 1. So just things I like about it. There's engaging art, great layout design, kind of wild. Some of them are horizontal when you open it up. The stories, give you something to sink your teeth into, so they're kind of meatier. There's more than the Beginner's Bible, which I'll get to. Spoiler alert. I also like how they point to Jesus throughout, and they try and get theological. Now, that leads to the disadvantage. I actually don't always appreciate their theological leanings, so it comes out pretty strong in this book, to the point where I'm like, I don't agree with some of those theologies, some of those leanings, so not my favorite, but works great for 2 to 6 year olds. That's kind of the target range. By the way, I find that on Amazon. They get polls from readers what age group it works well with. So there's over 12,000 4.9 star reviews on Amazon, published by Zonder Kids, 352 pages. There's only 44 Bible stories, but it's solid. It says over 2 million copies sold, so lots of people are reading it. Not my top 3, but coming in at number 3, the Beginner's Gospel Story Bible by Jared Kennedy. Now this one, great engaging art. Just take a look at it here. Show you some of that. Short and sweet stories. They end with simple questions. There's some flourishes throughout, so little things like that are fun to say for kids that aren't really in the text, like here's Pharaoh crying and saying yes. Obviously it's a little but then there's almost like takeaways. The perfect lamb helps us remember God's promise to forgive, and then there's a little question right here with an answer, which is nice for parents who are sleepy. But what are the disadvantages? I think, the lessons and questions are theological in nature, but they're not so broadly applicable, similar to the Jesus Storybook Bible. The theological leanings are strong, not quite as strong as the Jesus Storybook Bible, but still there and present. Also, there's not a ton of stories. There's 52, which is a good number, but not a ton. Works great for 2 to 5 year olds, is kind of the pocket for that book. And Jared Kennedy, he's got a master's in theology, actually 2 different master's degrees. So, he checks out and everything, but that comes in at number 3. It was published by New Growth Press in 2017. 400 reviews on Amazon, and they got 4.9 average stars. So that's about it for number 3. Coming in at number 2 is the Beginner's Bible. Now, man, obviously, this is a classic. I think I literally read this one when I was a kid. Um, they've had different versions that have come out over the decades. But what I love about it is it's simple, it's classic, it's accurate without too much embellishment, and it's short. So when you're going to bed, when you're putting the kids down, it doesn't take too long. Great art. I actually know one of the artists who worked on it. The downside is it can be too simple and it doesn't include all the stories. So there's 90 stories, but sometimes in some of these other Bibles, like my number one favorite, there's even more stories. Published by Zondervan, so it was written and illustrated by Zondervan. So it's kind of this conglomerate. It's really timeless is what it's called, but it's also generic in that sense. So definitely a classic. It's got 23,000 reviews on Amazon, 4.9 stars, 512 pages. So it's great. Coming in at number one, however, is Bible Stories Every Child Should Know by Kenneth N. Taylor. So what I love about this one is the art is amazing. Just give you a little taste for that. It's accurate, it's short and robust, and it's kind of neat. At the end of each story, they've got 3 or 4 solid and engaging questions. My daughter is 4.5 right now. She tends to be able to answer like half of them when she's paying attention. But the downside to this Bible is it can be too long. Like the stories can be too long and wordy. It's very content rich. It's not way too long. It can just be too long sometimes or for certain ages. Works great for 3 to 6 year olds. So probably not 2. And once they get past 6, it's going to fade in relevance. But it's got 87 reviews on Amazon, 4.7 stars. It was published in 2021 by a group called 10 Publishing. It has 120 Bible stories, which is quite a few. But let me tell you my favorite reason and why I love this Bible is really the background behind the author. His name's Kenneth N. Taylor. Born in 1917, died in 2005. He was the founder of Tyndale House Publishers. So, I don't know if you've heard of the Living Bible, but Kenneth Taylor paraphrased what we call the Living Bible today, out of which came the NLT project, the New Living Translation. So what happened is Kenneth Taylor was trying to disciple his kids, and so he would read a story from the Bible from the American Standard Version, which came out in 1901. But when he would read it, he would ask his kids if they understood the message by different questions, and it was just like falling on deaf ears. And so he decided that he would paraphrase the stories the night before so that the next day he could tell his kids the story in a way that they understood, and comprehension went way up. So he took his paraphrases for his own kids and turned that into the Living Bible. And later they wanted to kind of build this paraphrase up, and when they verified it with scholars, they ended up saying, you know what, we're just going to do a new paraphrase. It's a little cleaner and easier, and that became the NLT. So the heart of the NLT is actually the heart of a father or a mother to disciple their kids, which I love. So the same guy who translated or paraphrased the Living Translation, the Living Bible, is the same guy who wrote this, Kenneth N. Taylor. So I love his heart. The stories are robust. They don't get too theological, but there's a ton of stories. The art's amazing. So that is my number one favorite children's Bible for ages 2 to 6. Now, I've got one more. This is a bonus. It's not in my top 5 because technically it's not a children's Bible, but I love it, and I know the illustrator and the author pretty well. But man, this is the funnest book to read. It's called A Treasury of Bible Stories by Kelly Pooley. So it's only got 20 Bible stories, but it's a rhyming Bible. And it's accurate. So let me show you a little bit here. The stories aren't too long. They're not too short. They're just right. It's got 65 reviews on Amazon, 4.8 stars, published by David C. Cook, 352 pages. I love it because it's accurate, like I told you, fun to read, engaging. It's focused on a specific lesson and great illustrations. The downside is there's not enough of them. So, now that you've seen my top 5 plus a bonus one, go ahead and pick one. Pick 2. If you're like me, pick all 5 or 6. And try them out with your kids, see which ones resonate. And they're kind of for different scenarios. We need all sorts of arrows in our quiver to be able to disciple our kids, to pull them out in different scenarios, different ages, different levels of tiredness. And just kind of as they grow up and grow older, it's nice to have different ways to tell the same stories. I hope you enjoyed this video. Talk to you later.